all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Christmas extravaganza, the combining of the two podcasts that don't know when to stop, the film club, the double feature. Welcome to the Christmas extravaganza. I'm your host, Dean, joined by the double feature man himself, David. David, how are you?
I'm already tired of the holidays.
And also joined by Miss Giggles over here, Miss Boo from the Film Club podcast. How are you?
I will financially never recover from this holiday season.
Neither do I, but that's because Naxxramas got released in classic WoW. Deep cut nerd jokes for all. Alright, so cool everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I guess this is the first time everybody's been in the same room together.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've actually never seen you before, Dean, so this is a new surprise for me.
We've been doing the podcast over voice to talk, like the speaking spells. Right?
Yeah, but also from within one of those Catholic confessionals, so I only hear you through the gated.
I thought I was alone in there. Oh God! Please tell me you didn't see me doing the thing with the chicken, right?
Well, certain things stay within the church.
Okay.
Yeah. Is he still using the Channing Tatum picture as his profile pic?
Hey! I'd so look like Channing Tatum if Channing Tatum put on a few pounds and stopped taking care of himself and whatever.
Didn't know how to dance.
Didn't know how to dance.
I'm just gonna say it was disappointing to actually see him.
Yeah. This is a terrible idea. But other than that, so for this episode, we are on theme because Christmas is about bringing people together. You know, it's about, coming together, watching some movies, having fun, and we all decided to bring in our favorite Christmas films and watch them together, talk about them, compare them, see what's going on. My pick for favorite Christmas movie to bring in was Christmas Vacation, the National Lampoon classic. David, what did you bring in?
I brought in another American classic, A Christmas Story. I don't think there is a DVD collection in America that has gone without this.
That's true.
That's true. And Miss Boo came in with the deepest of cuts, but actually a pretty awesome movie.
I do what I can.
What did you bring?
I brought in the Bill Murray classic, Scrooged, from the 80s.
Yes, directed by Richard Donner. I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, on the double feature, we try and say good pairings. Were these good together? This is a good kind of marathon kind of film experience. And we're going to try and figure that out. And Boo, you like talking a little bit more in depth about each movie, so we'll try and bring all that in together.
All right. Sounds good.
Now, I guess first thing, these movies all work together, right? We have a good kind of Christmas movie marathon here.
Yeah, I think that overall, A Christmas Story and Vacation both touch on the family aspect of Christmas, and then kind of alternatively, Scrooge fits a little bit in with both along the covetous theme of Christmas.
That nice corporate greed.
Yeah, and the swimming pool and the American merchandise, that coming in the form of that sweet rifle.
Yep. Scrooge was also really cool because it was a modern... So we did an episode on Romeo and Juliet, and we recorded it pretty recently.
Yeah.
And we got into a whole thing of modernizing classic work.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Romeo plus Juliet by Baz Luhrmann didn't do it all that well.
He was very upset during the recording.
I was very upset. But I think Scrooge did it really well. I think it was an actually very solid modern interpretation of the story. Transposed in 1980s America, but what have you. Also, the ending is something else. We'll get to that.
Yes.
All right. So I guess where should we start?
Well, I mean, why not start with Scrooge? We're already here.
Exactly.
And I think that you do make a good point about it's modernizing a classic story. There's been plenty of adaptations of A Christmas Carol over the years that have pretty much been the same thing.
We tried to write a Christmas Carol style short film not too long ago.
And after a while, you find that it just sucks.
Okay, life happens.
No, it doesn't. It's not so much that, but I think that this certainly was a fresh take on it. In certainly keeping it on the nose. That's the thing I noticed throughout my viewing is that everything. Bill Murray didn't even feel like he was trying to be the character after a certain point. He was certainly even poking fun at the role he was trying to play, and I think that adds to it because I think it's one thing to avoid cliche. I think it's a whole other thing to just attack it head on and acknowledge it and say, well, these things are still true. Mm-hmm. It's just that we all know that it's also kind of ridiculous because we continue to forget about them.
Yeah. It's also interesting because it feels like Bill Murray in the 80s played the perfect jerk. Just because that was his character in Groundhog Day, that's his character in Ghostbusters, that's his character in Scrooge. And it's almost like perfect casting if you're going to make a Christmas Carol modern comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was his second time coming back to starring in a feature film, because Ghostbusters was his first, and after a while it was kind of dry, so he was kind of considering maybe not coming back.
Really?
Yes, and then that's when they, approached him for Scrooge, and he was like, yeah, totally, I love it. His brothers were in the movie.
I think, isn't this the only movie where all of his brothers appear in with him?
All of his acting brothers appear in it.
Wait, he has more than 4 brothers?
I think he does.
Jesus Christ, the Murrays got busy, okay.
Plus his dad, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think his dad's in the movie, too.
Yeah.
Who was also in Christmas Vacation.
He was.
Yeah.
He was. No, actually, that's not his dad.
That's his oldest brother.
That's his oldest brother who just plays his dad in all these movies. Because I think the age difference is, significant.
Can I get a rundown of the Murray family tree, if anybody knows? Because now I'm thoroughly confused.
There's, 7 kids, I think.
Is he, the youngest of them or something?
I don't think he's the
youngest.
youngest.
I guess probably John was younger than him.
Yeah, John looks a lot younger than him, so he's probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all over the place. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of them.
It's a big brood of Murrays.
Big Murray, brood going on. But yeah, and it's also kind of nice that you get to see all his brothers, and it's a Christmas story, and it has another layer on top of it where it's all his brothers are in it, his family's together, making this movie about Christmas, which is about bringing people together, and yeah, it's really nice.
Family and Christmas, they go hand in hand.
It's true. So where do we want to start with Scrooge? Because we already talked about Mr. Murray. Is there any particular scenes and story beats, things we want to get into?
This is something that I watch every year, so why don't you guys take the lead, since this is your first time seeing it? Because I know you haven't seen it, and I think you said this was your first time too, David?
Right. I don't even think I'd heard of this one before the viewing. I mean, the first thing that really popped out to me was, again, Murray's very on the nose acting in the role. I thought, that initial scene with the commercial viewing in the boardroom.
Oh, God.
If this movie had shades of Network for some reason for me.
Yeah.
And maybe that was also one thing they tried to do, is I'm sure they wanted to make fun of the process of the industry within the movie, which is fine for me. I certainly enjoy that kind of dystopian feel that they put out there in late 80s America, and making sure everybody knows that this isn't only because you aren't with your family this time of year, but also because you're taking nothing about sex, drug, and violence on television.
Yeah.
But the other thing that stands out to me isn't until the end, so I don't know if there's anything that stood out to you, Dean.
So,
here he goes. He's going to break out that tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
No, there's no tinfoil hat. I enjoyed the movie thoroughly, across the board. I thought the emotion that Bill Murray portrayed throughout the movie was really good. I thought the whole thing about him seeing, Little Bill and, the tears growing up when he sees his mom, just oh, that's so nice. The cab driver was funny. I guess the Ghost of Christmas Present was kind of weird, though. I will say that was very, very interesting.
She's one of my favorites in the movie.
Yeah, Cara Kane's great.
She's fantastic.
And the
but
fact that she beats the crap out of Bill Murray, it's
him
he needed a good ass kicking, and he got it.
I think that, I do think that was part of it too, is maybe the performance at certain points, kind of like Murray's. They just have them overtake the story rather than focusing on the details. Because I think then that's, again, approaching the cliche. It'll fall a little flat because Murray's character really doesn't give a shit that he missed that Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Then the other thing is, like, you're leaning into the very classical story of A Christmas Carol. And I don't think this movie really wants to do that. Because this is it's not a faithful retelling, but it's a very good beat for beat of the original story. And I will say this, though, the ending where Bill Murray goes out into the studio and just starts ranting for like 30 solid minutes. Don't get me wrong. At the end there, when they all started, talking togetherness and started singing...
Put a Little Love in Your Heart.
Put a Little Love in Your Heart. I was like, oh, this feels so good. But the first 10 minutes of that speech was absolute garbage.
No.
The last 15 was gold.
It's a great climax.
It's a great climax, I get it, but there's...
That again, also, I think going back to that lens of like, we got to just like break through the cliche of it. Why try and do something, the movie really doesn't set up an opportunity for him to be charitable at any point, like he's supposed to at the end of Christmas Carol. Other than getting that kid to speak, which
also
even then is kind of a red herring or whatever.
Also getting Bobcat Goldsmith his job back.
Yeah, he gives him his job back. He gives him a raise. He even offers his office, and he's like, "I don't even like your office." And he's, "That's so you, Elliot."
Yeah, that was another one that really poked on that sort of dystopian. That one started to remind me of Natural Born Killers or something.
Oh God, there are moments in this movie where I'm like, this is kind of surreal in what they're trying to do here.
Yeah,
where it's like okay, when he comes in with the shotgun, that is absolutely... It looks like it's something out of Natural Born Killers for a minute, because I guess it's the wide-angle lenses they're using. But there's another point in this movie where I was like, this just looks like a cartoon, and I think it's the entire time where he's with Ghost of Christmas Present. I was like, this looks like a cartoon because she is literally a manic pixie. Which, I guess, works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Christmas Carol combined with the fact that it's a Bill Murray comedy. Of course, it's going to be a little cartoonish.
Yeah, life happens. Yeah.
And they bring the reality in it when they're with his brother and they're playing trivia and she's like, okay, we got to go. And he's hitting her, I know this one. And,
okay, who didn't know the answer to that question?
I didn't. I know you're a big fan. I know you're a big fan of Gilligan. I'm sorry.
How did you not know it's the SS Minnow?
I at least knew the harpsichord from the Addams Family.
That's better than I.
What? I don't even know you guys anymore.
Well, I mean, it is your first time meeting David.
Yeah.
Mr. Tatum.
So you don't know very much about me. We'll come to find a lot more out.
Not at all. I hear you hate Bull Durham. Is that accurate?
I think you've been hearing some bullshit.
It's all right.
I mean, for your first time meeting him, you hit it like right on the nose. He is full of a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
So much hate.
But I absolutely love the scene with Elliot and the shotgun. When he's just going, target practice after Bill Murray with his, "Hello, Abbott," just chasing him down the office. It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I think my favorite is when we see his... I think it's his secretary's home life.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can relate to that. Your family's there, but all the kids are hanging out, having fun. Yeah. I like that. It was nice. I think there's a lot of heartwarming points in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and bringing up that point about character with a shotgun, you'll come to learn I'm bad with names on this podcast.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah, that kind of story reminded me a lot of the neighbor story from A Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
This kind of comedic subplot going on in order to give you a break from the emotional ties of the story. Though I enjoyed this one much more because, again, it ties back into the whole thing. And the other one, it's just it's funny to watch. What's her
Mary Louise Dreyfus?
Yeah.
Todd and Margot.
I can't believe I got it right on the first try. I'm so hyped. Julie Louise. I was close enough.
Mary's a different character.
And that's your pick, too.
Oh, yeah. No, look, I love A Christmas Vacation. It's super funny. It is basically a Christmas-style skit show of, old SNL alums. It's great. It's super funny. But like, I don't remember half the people's names. I watch it, and there's some scenes in that movie where it's like, this is just a raunchy comedy, and there's other scenes like where Clark is upstairs and he's watching the old 1950s like home videos of Christmas, and I'm gonna need a minute real quick. Oh, that gets me every time. But there's like actually heartwarming stuff in that movie.
You know, I before we do end up getting to Christmas Vacation, I would like to point out one thing in that scene that really irked me is that if he breaks through the ceiling and lands on the top of the bunk, why not just
crawl out? Because Clark is an idiot.
Fair. But another thing I do want to get to before being scared by plot holes is that the actual terror of that ghost of future, Christmas future in Scrooged, that was interesting.
Yeah.
When he opens up the...
It's all the people just hanging out in his chest.
Yeah.
I was like, that's nightmare fuel.
Like the face gag that they do where it's like a screen.
Yeah.
Just kind of...
I thought that was genius.
Interesting shift in tone.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense for, normally the Ghost of Christmas Future and Christmas Carol adaptations is supposed to be terrifying rather than like
whimsical,
actually showing you anything.
It is interesting that in like Scrooge, that the Ghost of Christmas Future, that whole sequence is incredibly horrifying. Like when we have Bill Murray and he's in the coffin and they're sending him into the cremation thing and he's freaking out. I'm like, that is somebody's actual hell he is living through.
Yeah, it's a common fear that people, have, the fear of dying or burning up alive. And we also see that fear of, I could have helped my secretary's son, that's when he starts yelling, I know the best doctors at so-and-so hospital. It's like, why didn't you do that ahead of time? It's always, I'll go back, I'll do this, but it's like, it wouldn't have killed you to help this little boy.
And the other thing I get out of that scene that I don't think I even realized in the other, original adaptations is like that scene pegged me as being a fear of being unimportant. Mm-hmm. Because we have a Christmas, or this adaptation, it's a television executive who obviously thinks he's the king of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in that he controls everybody's viewing pleasure. He thinks he's a pretty important person. And then if you go back to the original Scrooge and those other stories, he's a big, I don't know exactly what kind of business person is.
He's some sort of like money lender, or he's like some sort of banker or something like that.
Yeah, something like this. And he obviously thinks he's an important person in that story. But it always instead was just a general fear of death that I thought it was. And this is the first time I really found out that, it's also about realizing that the efforts you made in your life that you thought were important really meant nothing.
Yeah.
One of the only people who show up to your funeral are your brother and his wife, and that's it.
That's it.
You see that, wow, like you had no friends who wanted to come and see you off. That very depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, even Claire wasn't there. And,
exactly.
She loved him and he loved her, but by then it was just, I'm so done with you. Not even on your last day I'm going to be there.
I cannot think of a possible reason that Claire would have to actually love this guy, though. Aside from feeling bad that she gave him a concussion, I really don't understand why.
Well,
a slight concussion. Bill Murray's got like a thick skull. You could just see it under that
true.
80s hair.
That's why it's hard to grow hair out of it.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, no, Bill Murray's hairline in this movie is tragic, but...
It always has been.
Yeah.
Always has been. But yeah, it's really interesting when you bring up like Claire and Bill Murray's relationship, because at first it's like, they're like that cutesy kind of like late 70s, hippie couple kind of thing. And then he decides to just keep pursuing his business, and she just doesn't want that. It's really weird that they break up because he's like, yo, honey, I got a dinner with the head of the company. Like, this guy controls our future. You want to come with? And she's like, but we got dinner with, like, our friends from college. Like, well, we should go to that, though.
Yeah, as if that can be rescheduled. That too. I mean, or when he also...
I know I'm saying this, and Miss Boo, my girlfriend, is looking at me and is like, no, we're going to go see our friends after this, right?
Well, no, it's, she also says that she's seeing the change in him. Mm. And I understand it. When your career's taking off, that's pretty much all you can focus on. You just want to keep going and going and seeing where it'll take you to, ultimately to the top. But Claire's more, I'm here for friends and family, and you're here for, climbing the ladder. So I think this was kind of the tipping point with, hey, it's Christmas Eve. We should be with our family and our friends. And he's kind of, what, I need to go to this business dinner and see where it takes me because I'm tired of being in this dog costume.
But is life worth living if you're not rich? That's the real question here. I think he ended up making the correct choice. It's I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. I think this is all Claire's fault.
Finally,
no.
somebody else put the tinfoil hat on. I'm so excited. Somebody else has donned the crown.
Because I don't think in any other universe, I really don't think he's that bad of a person for saying, yeah, I want to be the president of the company, so let me go to this business dinner to schmooze. Yeah. We can literally reschedule this for next week. And probably get a nice bottle of wine once I realize, I'm getting a promotion. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe it's not so. That's the other reason. The thing I was going to bring up too is, I feel like these adaptations of A Christmas Carol are getting less and less effective because of how black and white the story really is in its original form. Life is a lot grayer nowadays.
Just a hair
for worse. And maybe it's losing its effect. Maybe that's one of the reasons too that it's a little bit parodied in this movie, but it's good at the end of the day that he gets to freak out for a half hour on television and stay the company's president. Yeah.
I'm not lying.
Yeah.
Like, the ending of the movie when they start singing "Put a Little Love in Your Heart," I'm sappy. It got me. I ain't gonna lie. I was humming along, and maybe the whole speech isn't pitch perfect, but it feels really organic. It feels like they just let Bill Murray just riff for 30 minutes and be like, just talk about Christmas, man. Just go for it. Have a little speed, maybe smoke a joint, and then go out there and just roll with it, Bill. And Bill's like, you don't have to tell me twice. And by the end of it, he nails it.
I think the whole time he nails it.
I enjoyed the whole speech. Because
the idea from the beginning, it's like, him taking over a live broadcast on TV. That's drama.
That's drama now?
It's drama. They think he's drunk, and they're like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And once he really starts to get in depth with his emotions, then it's kind of like, oh, no, he's going somewhere with this. This isn't, he's just, drunk off his ass, and he just wandered onto the stage. Like, no, this has purpose. It has meaning.
Yeah, and I think that meaning especially comes out in the fact that all of these stories are supposed to be about breaking open the time loop that Christmas can be, where we all just go through the motions of Christmas every year, and it's him actually trying to say, let's cut the crap and really remember what Christmas is about. Yeah. And I'm going to kiss this girl on live TV, even though I'm also trying to appeal to the girl I'm in love with, which is an interesting move. But
I feel that's where it loses me. When he starts kissing up to the showgirl, and he is also trying to win Claire's heart in the same move. Don't get me wrong. Bill Murray, the charisma on you might be strong enough to do it, but I don't know.
But he does have the failsafe with the mistletoe, where he says, legally, by law, I have to kiss this person because they're under the mistletoe.
I feel like if I tried that same thing, you'd shoot me.
Most people would get shot, Dean.
I mean, I wouldn't shoot you.
It'd be slower and more painful.
Exactly.
I love you, Boo. All right. But yeah, so that's Scrooge.
Yeah, great pick.
Very strong.
I'm glad you guys both liked it. This is part of my Christmas traditions every year, so...
Well, I think it will become part of mine.
Yeah.
That's very cool to hear.
Yeah.
So, where to next on this Christmas extravaganza journey?
Well, I think we did find some parallels in Christmas Vacation, so if it's all right with the both of you...
I think that sounds
I think moving on to that would be a good idea.
Christmas Vacation.
Now,
buddy.
I have never seen any of the other National Lampoon movies.
What?
Let me hold them back.
Yeah,
don't hurt David.
I know.
What's wrong with you?
Listen, I get that Dean has a poster of Chevy Chase in his bedroom.
It's not a Chevy. It's not a Chevy Chase.
Whoa.
Please.
He kisses his William Shatner poster every night.
Thank you. Wait a minute. Stop that. I don't kiss posters of William Shatner. I just appreciate it.
Do you kiss all the guys from Star Trek, or is it just Shatner?
Stop. You guys are terrible. Bones McCoy is the best character in Star Trek, bar none. Stop it right now.
Just saying, that poster looks a little worn, so...
It's from the 70s.
Be a little gentle with it, okay?
Yeah.
You guys are so mean to me.
Listen, I'm going to contact the guy at Staples who keeps reprinting your posters.
Stop that. Don't talk about Dave. All right.
But yeah, so I know of them. I know of them heavily. I've seen plenty of clips. They're fairly famous to people who are into older movies. I'm sure a lot of younger people nowadays have no idea what a Lampoon is, let alone a national version of it.
I feel like...
And they did make the remake, and it...
Vacation,
okay. So then technically I have seen the movie.
Yeah.
Because I did see that one.
Yeah.
Which was okay.
Yeah.
It didn't live up to the original because Ed Helms doesn't have like that frat boy tendency that Chevy Chase does.
It's really weird because there's like a couple of like big omnipresent National Lampoon movies. It's like Animal House is probably the most famous one where you associate that's a National Lampoon movie. Then you have like Vacation and Christmas Vacation, and there's probably a few other ones that I'm just missing because I'm dense.
European Vacation.
Well, the Vacation movies was the franchise, but realistically, like
Van Wilder.
Oh, Van Wilder was also a National Lampoon movie.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you're thinking about it, you're like, man, I've seen all the ones you've listed so far.
Yeah, doing a cursory Google here. Yes, Van Wilder's in there. There's a Christmas Vacation 2.
Yeah.
Don't watch that one.
There's a Vegas Vacation. Which
that exists.
God knows how that is. There is a Van Wilder sequel, The Rise of Taj.
Oh.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Of course you have.
It happens.
And it keeps getting more extensive and raunchy from there, to the point where it probably is moot to even mention them. But I guess if you're on the National Lampoon Mount Rushmore, those are probably the ones you would mention.
Yeah. So, we have National Lampoon's Vacation. Is this the first time either of you have seen it before? Have you seen...
Yeah.
This is the first time you've seen it?
Yeah, I think I had mentioned that I had seen it earlier in the episode, but I've seen, like, extensive clips because, again, famous movie.
Gotcha. Well, I guess, what did you two think of the movie? I guess we'll keep it the theme of, people who didn't pick it talk about it. So what did you guys think of it?
Well, I mean, I watch it every year. This is part of my tradition. I mean, both your guys' movies. These are movies that I watch every Christmas season, so I'm very familiar with it. It's my favorite National Lampoon movie. Mm-hmm. It's also the first National Lampoon movie not to play Holiday Road in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that's a thing. So
it's kind of weird to go into it and not hear the typical theme song. But overall, it's a great movie. Like you were saying earlier, where we have the subplot with the other characters to kind of take us away from the family that we're focused on. I love those scenes with Margot and Todd. It's stupid things, things that probably wouldn't happen to a next door neighbor. But then again, we've all lived next to people that just drive us crazy for stupid reasons.
And there's kind of a point to it, too. I mean, they're very not family-oriented people. They're just alone on Christmas. Their house is very sterile.
There's no modern. Christmas anything in there.
They're very materialistic. I mean, the whole thing mounts to connecting with the theme in a certain way.
And their trash bag workout suits. Yeah. They just look ridiculous. So it's fun to kind of laugh at them.
Oddly sprawled out stereo that I was confused about. It looked like hard drives at a certain point, but I was like,
dude, that was the 80s, man. Ooh. That was some hardcore 80s, like, stereo equipment.
I guess so. I mean, whatever you find to be the state of the art, as I probably called it. But the one thing that I really enjoyed about this story overall is kind of a similar thing as to why I liked Christmas Story, is that the story meanders a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I like that there are wants, there are desires, there's a goal, but the whole thing is just kind of about, let's see where the weekend takes us.
Yeah.
See what the family's doing.
Because obviously Scrooged is a much more goal-oriented movie, albeit based on an antiquated story. So it's not its own story in itself. But I do feel like sometimes when we have watched certain movies on the podcast where it gets just too focused on itself when it doesn't need to. And I think that these movies benefit from just being about, let's see what the family does to each other. And then they don't have to do anything specific, which can just be about, the scenes don't really build on each other. They're just like, well, now this happens. And I ended up enjoying that a lot about this movie.
there's a lot of the movie that feels like these are standalone Christmas skits with this just cast of characters.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it works in the larger context of the movie because I don't know. I feel there's just a bunch of scenes where I can just kind of relate to it in weird ways. A lot of this movie reminds me of my family. You know, granted, my dad was never that dumb, but my dad has fallen off the roof putting up Christmas lights. I think everybody's father has fallen off roofs putting up Christmas lights.
My mom broke her back and ruined Christmas one year doing
Ooh.
it. So.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I believe everybody's had the Christmas dinner where ended up with you just ordering takeout instead of
Or leaving.
You know.
We've had a Thanksgiving where we just kind of like, oh, they're fighting. We better just pack up the car and go.
Oh no, my family stuck through those fights. Oh, those are the best kinds of Thanksgivings. But and then the other thing where the family comes over, y'all stay over at the house, you wake up Christmas morning, have a bunch of fun, and it's just kind of nice. I think it's just a really like nice feeling that this movie kind of gives me, where it's the whole family comes together and half of them don't like each other, but they put up with it because it's Christmas and their family.
And that's the reality of it. The idea of all the family coming over and hanging out is exciting, and then your family gets there and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to make it to Christmas morning? Please just leave.
Yeah, that house certainly begins to feel more like a desert island.
Yeah.
Also, who doesn't have an uncle that shows up in his RV and drains his septic tank in their front yard? I mean, come on. Who doesn't have that uncle?
Not me.
Yeah, I'd have to pass on that as well.
Are you sure? Really? That's just me? Okay, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have that uncle either, I swear.
I mean, technically by my family structure, I am that side of the family, being from Lake Elsinore, but thankfully we're not that uncivilized.
But of course.
Yeah.
We learned to shit indoors in my family.
Exactly. No, there's actually another funny thing that you pointed out about Scrooged. This movie is cartoonish, so I don't know why.
Okay, no, that's the other thing.
I mean, we even open with an animated sequence, and you're over here making Scrooge cartoony.
Look, I understand. I'm a hypocrite all over the place. Because National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is just a live-action cartoon. It's a live-action Christmas cartoon.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. Like, I think that's my thing with this movie. It's just so much fun.
It's the point. I mean, Chevy Chase, from as early as his SNL days, has always been a very animated person. Mm-hmm. He enjoys his physical comedy. That was half of what he did in those openings on SNL. The physical comedy especially is what stood out to me. Some of it being very classic. Mm.
A lot of
not necessarily cliche, not necessarily cliched, but the board sequence in the attic, it was very. You knew exactly how that sequence goes, so it's just like, oh, okay, so maybe it's something for the kids to laugh at. But I especially enjoyed them super exaggerating the sledding sequence.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, because this is the other thing too, is jobs nowadays aren't as mundane as like trying to figure out a new cooking
oil thing.
Oil or whatever.
Spray.
Yeah. Nowadays it's like pretty much everybody, you either work for an app or not that. Probably a retail job. So
probably.
It's kind of weird how you could be that specialized and have your own office and everything like he does, but then also do something that's so meaningless.
It's also interesting about the whole job thing in this because hashtag 80s people, hashtag capitalism, but who didn't relate to Clark when he didn't get his Christmas bonus?
Oh yeah.
You ever have a job where you're expecting your boss to do something nice for Christmas and then he just doesn't? He just gets you lotto scratchers, which has happened to me before.
I've been given one Christmas bonus and it came in the form of a gift card to the store I work at. Which was okay. I mean, I got a jacket out of it. I used it. And at the time I was younger, I was only like 17 or 18 or something. So I was like, okay, I'd shop at this store, I guess. I'll use this. Nowadays, it's like, that's not even a reality. Mostly because I don't have a job right now. But,
Same. Life happens.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself. I got a good job. It's fine.
Yeah, well, How's the Christmas bonus over there, Dean?
Don't worry about it. It's nice.
Yeah, you'd
Merry Christmas,
really
we'll
like
get
a
food
Jelly of
after
the
this.
Month club, wouldn't you?
I mean, one year I got lotion, and I work in a restaurant.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, kind of odd.
But yeah, I don't know. This movie is weird because I can like kind of relate to everybody, and it's fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
it might not be that deep movie, but it's a shit ton of fun.
The whole thing is about being relatable because it's supposed to mirror everybody's familial experience during Christmas. I mean, the other thing I miss about certain movies, even though Vacation, the new one, technically tried to do this and didn't work, I miss just putting actors through action sequences that obviously are stupid and would never happen in real life, such as the beginning of this movie when they're going to get the Christmas tree.
Yes.
Except this really feels like something that Dean would make us do someday, and I'm kind of terrified that he's going to drag me and our possible children out to the middle of nowhere.
Our absolute children. We're going to have 12 of them, and we're going to make them carry the tree back. It's going to be awesome.
You need to take your meds. It's okay. I know we're getting to that time, but
because I also don't understand it either. I mean, as judging by our Christmas, I'm probably going to end up being in the house next year's where we have a stereo, we have nothing in our house.
You walk in, you're like, is it Christmas really, or what's going on in here?
And
it's
then,
me time. That's what it is.
And then Dean comes outside in his Jason mask and his chainsaw, and he's cutting the tree, and like, oh yeah, it's fine, I got it, it's cool.
Yeah, I don't see the issue here.
Yeah, well, I will certainly I will learn from the mistakes of people in the past and actually send you the bill for all the damage you do to my house.
Yes.
So.
It'll be fine. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Yeah. I don't know. Like, do you guys have any big points in the movie you guys want to get a deep dive in, or is this movie just not that deep? It's just kind of fun.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of. Again, I've seen Natural Born Killers fairly recently, so I don't know. Maybe that's why it's in the front of my mind. But it's really weird to see Juliette Lewis in this movie, only to figure out that not in like a couple of years she's going to be playing one of the most gruesome murderers to ever grace the screen.
And she'll also be in like Cape Fear, which has some really weird
it's a dark story,
dark stuff going on.
Yeah, so that was weird to see her. It was kind of weird to see Johnny Galecki because he didn't look like he does now.
Yeah.
He looks like just random little kid, and it's weird.
Yeah, whereas we'll go on to see him, and I know what you did last summer, briefly.
Yeah.
And forgettably, thankfully. And then he will go on to literally be in one of the biggest TV shows to ever grace cable television.
Yeah, Roseanne.
Yeah, he was in Roseanne for a long time.
David's mind just got blown because he only knew him from Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, okay.
And his name was David in Roseanne, so...
Fair enough.
There you go.
Whatever. I mean, good for him. I cannot imagine the wealth that comes off of those residual checks.
Oh, God. Every time there's Roseanne revival, he's over there being like, let me just count my money with my gloves made of more money.
Yeah. I was kind of interested. I didn't know that Dennis Quaid was related to a guy who could be that gross.
You didn't think Dennis Quaid and Randy Quaid were what?
Just didn't make the connection until, honestly, just now when I was looking at the name and I was like, wait a minute, that Quaid? Because there's no way anybody else in the industry has that name.
It's a pretty unique name. Wait, are they brothers?
Yeah, they're brothers. How did you not know that?
Okay, look. I understood they were related. I thought it was like, oh yeah, they're like cousins, but I'm like,
no,
wait a minute.
they're brothers.
Who's the older one? Is Randy Quaid the older one?
I think Randy's the older one.
Who got?
Dennis got all the looks.
There's
Yikes.
There's Randy Quaid. There's Brandy Quaid.
Yeah.
Brandy Quaid?
There's Buddy John Quaid. And then finally the family decided to sober up and have Dennis Quaid.
They're like, we need a saving grace, and then Dennis came out like, oh, thank God, we got one normal one out of the bunch.
Yeah, well, then he goes on to be in certain things as weird as, what was that movie that he was in that I absolutely hate?
Four Horsemen?
No, there's like some movie he's in where his like kids do drugs and they get involved in like some weird cartel thing, and it's I can't remember what the movie is. I'm gonna look this up. You two continue talking.
Okay, so I just need to. So yeah, so could you imagine growing up and Randy Quaid is your older brother?
No, I couldn't. I'd have to run away from home.
Are you sure? Because I mean, your older brother does kind of look like Randy Quaid.
Which is why I ran away from home.
Ah, I love you. Yeah.
Traffic.
Oh yeah, Traffic.
Never seen it.
You don't want to.
Yikes.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, so National Lampoon, Christmas Vacation.
Based off of John Hughes' short story, Christmas 59.
Yes. John Hughes, I think he also wrote the original story for Vacation as well.
He wrote Home Alone.
He wrote Home Alone, yeah. I think Chris Columbus was the original director for Christmas Vacation, but then he dropped out because he couldn't get along with Chevy Chase, which will be a theme for Chevy Chase's career.
Yeah.
Ever seen Community? Community's great.
And luckily, John Hughes was a very understanding person and was like, you know what, I have a project for you. Just, sit tight. And that project was Home Alone, which, exploded. So it was kind of like, I lost this part to work with, Chevy Chase and do a big Christmas movie, but I scored a two-parter with Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Arguably a better movie.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to sit here and talk shit on Dean's.
You do every year.
It's
that's
okay.
Fine.
I talk shit on his picks all the time, so
yeah, she
feel
does.
free.
It's all fair.
Yeah.
We have planned to do Home Alone in a future episode, but I do feel that I must slap myself on the wrist for overlooking that, because that is a movie that I always watch for Christmas, and I feel much more is in line with what I like during Christmas. Because I guess it's like going into the family thing again. I'd hate to get all preachy for a moment, but being a child of a divorced family.
Hey, me too.
Yeah, the family thing doesn't always stick with me every Christmas because I have to have 4 or 5 of them by the end of the month, and it's just kind of a slog. Mm-hmm. So really what gets me is always the alone time, the rest time. That's what I enjoy the most. Yeah. Particularly the extended time on my PlayStation. And I feel like Home Alone ends up being a little bit more along those lines. But I'll give this to Dean. I do think Christmas Vacation, at the end of the day, just like Scrooged, finally gets back to the real evil antagonist of all Christmas, corporate America.
Yes.
Of course. I mean, I just thought it was fun, but okay.
Yeah. So, and, again, that final not shootout scene, it doesn't quite get there, but when the police storm the house. Mm-hmm. Much different scene to watch in 2020. But,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Still fun.
I also like how the police chief was like, "Really? You took away his Christmas bonus? Look, we're just gonna leave, and I'm gonna put the gun right here on the coffee table. What happens, guys. That's just gonna happen." I don't know, but that's Christmas Vacation. A lot of fun. Good family kind of Christmassy movie. But I think that brings us to the final film of this Christmas extravaganza. The Stone Cold classic, the Christmas movie that will keep AMC channel going all year round.
And TBS.
And also TBS.
And, what is it, TCL?
TCL. Okay, basically every channel every year marathons this movie 24/7.
Yeah.
Because you can't, have Christmas without A Christmas Story. You got to cancel Christmas if you don't watch it.
And we have A Christmas Story. All right, David, so this was your pick for your Christmas movie.
Yeah, like they just said, it's kind of the one that everybody watches anyway. It's the one at least I'm always end up watching every Christmas. I don't really have a specific Christmas movie I watch every Christmas. It ends up I watch one or something. I don't even think I have anything in my catalog currently that would go along with it. Die Hard is probably one that I watch most often, which we covered last episode.
Yes,
Lethal Weapon certainly will become one I watch every Christmas from now on.
Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, low key, some of the best Christmas movies I've ever seen.
I'm surprised you hadn't seen Lethal Weapon.
I hadn't seen Lethal Weapon; it just never came up.
But now I have two classics that I'll watch every Christmas. But other than that, Christmas Story obviously is the one that I think people know the most. And one I also believe, like I said with the meandering story in Christmas Vacation, does the same thing here. It's funny because I do feel like this movie could have done a lot more in making little old what's his face Ralphie. I was about to call him Randy. We need to get off the Quaid family.
Just real quick.
Yeah, I'm high on Quaaludes right now.
Quaaludes, buddy.
You know, Ralphie is such an interesting character, and I Peter Billingsley, I know, has basically done nothing else.
He was an elf.
Okay, fair point.
So he came back, you know, for like 5 minutes, and then he was like, yeah, I'm going back to hiding.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just appearing to let you guys know. Christmas Story approved. And then he left.
And, you know, maybe this is another Johnny Galecki story where he doesn't have to ever work again. But
yeah.
His little checks from this are probably insane.
I do think that it has to do with this movie being about a more innocent America. But I always felt like they could have done more to make Ralphie go through more obstacles in the story. It's very nitpicky of me, I know, because again, the whole thing isn't necessarily about watching Ralphie suffer through Christmas, but I think there is a lot more about Christmas that is covered in Christmas Vacation that ends up kind of being forgotten about in this story, even though, again, it's a much smaller story. But what stood out to the both of you about Christmas Vacation? For probably the 12,000th time we've all seen it.
My God, it might be 12,000 times I've seen this movie.
Yeah, I watch it like Christmas Eve when TBS does like the 24-hour thing.
I put that on, I can fall asleep to it.
That's what I do. I fall asleep to it, I wake up to it. Usually when it's Christmas morning, it's weird. It's Christmas morning and it's Christmas morning in the movie, so I'm like, is TBS watching me? But
they are, yes.
Probably.
Well,
that tinfoil hat is shining.
It's my first time wearing the hat today.
Are you donning the crown?
I am. I mean, you guys did it, so I want to join.
All right. Well, yeah, so I think the biggest thing about this movie is that it just feels so comfortable, right? And that's probably because this is one of those movies, even if you haven't seen it before and this is your first time watching it, it just feels so comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Because it kind of taps into those little things that everybody who's had like Christmas can get into. The present you really wanted, your parents who are doing their best, but you know they don't want to get you a BB gun, and then you get one, and it's really interesting, and it's all the weird stuff that goes out through like a kid's life. It's kind of like a snapshot of what it is to be like this, like a 10-year-old in like middle America during Christmas, and it's really interesting.
You know, actually, that's a good point. I do feel like this story, like most stories, the journey is what it's really about, not the destination. And maybe this one is pointing that out a little bit more specifically. It's always Christmas can be about wanting Christmas more than actually getting to Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Christmas in this household is a disaster, flat out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even more so than in the Griswold household, and I do feel like that for everybody involved. I'm going I guess through the Rolodex of characters in this movie, with maybe the exception of Ralphie's little brother. Yeah, Christmas is totally more about everything surrounding it. Because I gotta say, there's one thing I do hate about this movie. It is the little brother character.
Yeah.
You hate Randy?
Randy just drives us crazy.
Oh yeah, that's
maybe
my little brother's name, so I related a lot to him.
Yeah, maybe that's
Screw
also
Randy.
why I was thinking about calling him Randy. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like,
what is it with Christmas movies and people named Randy?
I mean, you kind of reminded me of Ralphie. So anytime I watch this, I think that's you and Randy as kids. And your biggest, struggle in life is my mommy going to get me the gift?
Ow. I'm offended.
Okay, here's a question. And this is, again, because I've never met you before.
Yes.
And maybe this will give our listeners a little bit of insight into your family.
Yes.
So, you know how there's Ralphie, Randy. In my family, it's David and Dylan.
Yes.
Why Dean and then Randy?
Well, my sister's name's Beth, so... Like, yeah, no, there's not like a thing my parents put out to say, okay, everybody's gonna have the same, like, first letter thing. That's not, no. Like, I'm named after, my sister's named after my grandmother, I'm named after my granddad, and my brother's named after my uncle. And, yeah. Granted, my grandpa's name was Jack, so Dean was a whole other thing.
Fair enough.
His name was Jackie Dean. He grew up in the country. It's cool. But besides the point.
I hear this story at least like once a day.
I love you, boo. I forget things.
I know.
So yeah, but A Christmas Story.
Right.
It really gets to the heart of, kind of just being a kid, which is weird. Because this is the only movie where we have that we're talking about, where we have a Christmas story told from the perspective of a kid.
Yeah.
Christmas Vacation, it's told from the perspective of a dad who's trying his best to have the best Christmas he can think of, like the kinds he remember as a kid, but he just kind of can't live up to that memory. And in Scrooge, it's from the perspective of a guy who's going through all these trials and tribulations to learn the true meaning of Christmas.
Yeah.
And Christmas Story is unique in that way for these pairings.
Why hasn't there been a Christmas movie based on a girl? I just thought about that.
Based on a girl. Yeah, I can't think of any.
It's kind of... Is Mrs. Claus a thing?
Copyright it with the WGA. We got writing to do.
There we go.
We're doing it, boys. Hold my beer.
Yeah, the two 24 or 5-year-old guys are going to write a movie about a little girl on Christmas. That's really going to end well.
Hey, boo, you got this?
So you guys don't go to jail, I guess, so...
Yay! Go team!
Yeah, I mean... I think, too, the one thing that is interesting about this movie is I have never been quite able to place the year that this movie takes place in. And it could also be because I overlook simple details sometimes, such as they probably could have stated the year of the movie, and I have, for years, never known. Exactly
it's like the first thing at the opening title scroll, it says X year, and you're just like, what does that mean, though? What's the symbology of those letters?
So they don't say it in the narration, do they?
No.
I don't think so, no.
So then I've always just pegged this as being then post-war America at some point.
I don't even think it's...
I think it's pre...
I think it is...
Second World War?
I think it's supposed to be in like 1930-something.
Really?
And this has been a struggle of people trying to figure out the date of the movie. Because we have like the Look magazine with Shirley Temple on it. That came out in Christmas of 38, but then we have The Wizard of Oz that I think came out before then, and then we have Red Rider.
Of Oz, we actually made a note. Was that 39? Was Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I believe 39 was Wizard of Oz. And the other thing I'm thinking about too is, okay, if it's 30s and that's Depression America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
so the mall setting would have been a little odd for that time period.
Maybe not so much, because it's like the mall setting, it's still Depression America, but it's like that Christmas time, and that's at the late end, so we were kind of bouncing back from the Depression a little bit. We were starting to get an economy going again. So this might have been the first Christmas where it wasn't a depression, right?
And it wasn't the war either, because Randy gets a Zeppelin for Christmas, so if it had been during the Second World War, they would have scrapped that for the iron.
Yeah, they would have.
Possibly, yeah.
And it's also another thing. There's a lot of weird symbology in this movie, because Ralphie, he wants the Red Rider BB gun, which is a classic example of that mythology of the cowboy and the western and all this other stuff. And
what's the radio program he listens to? It's Little Orphan Annie.
Yeah,
Little Orphan Annie. And
that was another point I was going to make. They stopped making the decoder pins around 39. They switched over to paper, I think.
Yeah.
To save on metal.
So this is probably like 39.
Somewhere in there.
And the other thing is, it's a classic, but the Red Rider BB gun, it's a classic example of the mythologized cowboy, and his dad is the one that gets it for him.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, and also the reality of Ralphie will probably be his last good Christmas as a kid, because the year after, that's war.
Yeah.
And he also says that at the end of the movie, that, through all of his Christmases, this was his best Christmas he ever had. So this kind of shows that he goes through war and whatever happens in his life
Yeah.
down the line.
It's really, man, it's kind of depressing when you think about it.
Yeah.
Whereas this is his best Christmas, where, granted, he got the toy he always wanted, but basically through this, he got Santa kicked him in the face. The neighbor's dogs destroyed his house. He got his mouth washed out with soap. He got punished for beating up the school bully. Granted, that might be a plus. I don't know. He got to beat up the school bully.
Well, yeah, I feel
beat
like
the shit out of him.
I feel like that's like the battle climax of the movie when he actually gets to overcome that.
Scott Farkas.
Yeah.
Also,
I
like
chalk
how
that up to
Ralphie
pretty
just
good.
goes in for the double leg and starts just raining blows on Scott Farkas like he's in the UFC. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Very wholesome.
He definitely had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training.
Yeah,
if
come
that's
on.
what you're wondering.
I mean, what else are they going to do in Iowa, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, my granddad's from Iowa. Granted, the population of that mall setting was the more population than what my granddad grew up with, but besides the point.
So, and I'm only interested in going back to this because now I think it's starting to triangulate the date of the movie a little bit more. So, Little Orphan Annie, I don't know if they state what station it was on in the movie.
I don't think so.
If they do, I don't remember.
Probably more likely than not on the NBC Radio and Blue, sponsored by Ovaltine.
Yeah.
So if the sponsorship is still active, which at the time, they wouldn't be rerunning sponsorships, then it pins this anywhere between 1931 and 1942. Now, I would beg that the commercialization of all of it, I'd maybe place this movie in 1940, 1941.
Mm-hmm.
Entering the war, because like you said, it'd have to be in 1940 then, because by the Christmas 1941
we were in
the war.
Yeah.
So possibly 1940.
Yeah, that's probably where I would pin this, and a lot of that, like, I guess that cultural snapshot of America, and that, because this is the idealized America, right? That people harken back to and say the good old days.
Yeah.
When in simpler times.
Probably more like 1950s. I feel like.
Well, if you're a racist, then, but whatever.
Well, I mean, it was still there in 1940.
I guess, but yeah. But
Yeah.
I know what you mean. But that's kind of what this movie is trying to portray, is that very wholesome, idealized family setting. The kids, the moms, all that stuff, and it is interesting when we think about it like that, where this is Ralphie's last moment of innocent childhood.
Yeah.
This is his last moment of innocent childhood Christmas, because the year after, he's gonna have to grow up real quick.
Yeah, definitely, and maybe that's also one of the reasons that the thing he covets in the movie is kind of for bigger kids. Like, maybe it's there's a little bit of a metaphor, and because all good stories kind of have a symbol like this where it's not on the nose like a Scrooged, but people not trusting him to not shoot his eye out with this toy, maybe because he's too young, but then once he gets it and his father kind of gives him this whole sort of like, well, he's growing up a little bit, let him get into guns, and then let's see where he goes from there.
Which is, that would,
again, a little depressing to think about now, but
that mindset might not apply in 2020, whatever.
Then again, it's also an air rifle. It's like, go figure. And cowboys were a thing back then too.
And we also see during the flashbacks when he's, wanting this gun, we see, he's protecting the house.
He has this whole fantasy
Yeah.
going on that he's the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, so it's not him, out there shooting whatever. It's him protecting his home and his family. So it's kind of, a little bit of a jump into the future of, hey, we kind of have to protect ourselves because war's coming.
Yeah, weird coming of age story.
Yeah.
That is what I figured out about this movie. Especially because then that idealized version of childhood is very violently ripped away from him, not necessarily shooting his eye out, but then him stepping on his glasses and things. And
him proving that he might not be old enough for this, but he's gonna have to be. This movie is actually a lot deeper than I thought it would be. I thought this would probably... Yeah.
I do think so. I think that's one of the things that always gets me to go back to the movie, is that it is really on it's surface level when you're just watching the movie, but afterward thinking about it, it's like, oh, there are a lot of interesting layers to this story that are probably the reason it's stuck around so long in the American lexicon, in Americana.
Oh yeah, I think out of all the movies we've talked about, Christmas Story, I guess it already has proven it'll be the longest lived, but I think Christmas Story is probably going to be the one that generations way past us are going to keep going back
Definitely.
to. Well, I mean, I hope so, as long as we don't end a nuclear winter.
You never know. Because you never know what's going to happen in 2021, given what's happened this year.
Could you imagine 2020 was just the prelude to a lot worse shit?
Oh, God, I hope not.
It'll be fine, boo. I'm here for you. So, yeah. I guess we're just going to have to round this story out here. So, we have 3 movies. We have Scrooge. We have Christmas Vacation. We have A Christmas Story. All of them, we can say, are good films.
Yeah.
Agreeable. All of them stick to the themes of Christmas. All of them are funny in one way or the other. All of them have a good, like, heartwarming message in there. But, Boo, I know this is unique for you because this is the first time you've had to do this. What order would you watch these in for a marathon? Because that's what we've talked about in the double feature sometimes because we try and find the best pairing. But the best pairing, you gotta lead into it. It's a roller coaster of emotions here.
And this is an easy question for me because I watch these 3 movies along with other movies every Christmas season. So I usually start with Scrooged. Mm-hmm. You get the comedy in, you get, the heartwarming feeling at the end. Then you transition to Christmas Vacation, which is, mostly comedy all around. And you get, that heartwarming, I was wrong, I should have been better to my employees. But the family's finally like, you know what, this guy's breaking his back to give us all a great Christmas. And then you gotta end with a Christmas Story.
Okay.
Because you're getting right there to Christmas, you're excited, we're finally gonna open presents. The presents that you buy for your loved ones, those are gonna be open, so that's kind of like the teaser to Christmas morning.
David, thoughts?
So the sequence I watched them in was Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation, Scrooged. If I was to do it again, I'm puzzled because the Christmas Story is a very quiet movie. There's not a whole lot of drama. There's not a whole lot of climax.
There's not a lot of bombast.
Whereas the other movies at least have that. And I feel like if I was to do it again, I'm going to end on Scrooge from now on.
Oh, okay.
Because that, television studio ending is fantastic.
I kind of have to agree with him.
Okay.
That ending just seems like a perfect cherry on top of the sundae.
If I was to start with one of these, I think I would go with probably Christmas Vacation to do first. Putting Christmas Story in the middle, I think, has to do mostly with it's a little bit of a break, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't quite put my finger on what it is, other than that it's a quiet kind of middle act to the 3. Mm-hmm. Judging by how many times I've seen Christmas Story, though, I would probably cut that out and just place 2 dueling screens with Die Hard and Lethal Weapon on them.
But of course, I assume that's what you're doing for this Christmas morn.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly going to watch Lethal Weapon again, and then probably the rest of the Lethal Weapon movies, because I want to see if... Do those take place on Christmas as well, or...?
I don't know, but I know Joe Pesci's in one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check them out then.
Yes. But I'm kind of on David's plan here, but I do have my caveat. I think we start with Christmas Story, because classic, gets you into the mood, gets you going. Then you go into Christmas Vacation, which... a little bit older, kind of raunchy humor, and then with the big bombastic explosion, you go right into the Bill Murray Scrooge comedy
with explosions in the movie,
and then it also just ends on that really heartwarming, song number, and it's just great. I think all in all, you can watch these movies in a lot of orders and have a lot of fun, but. That's kind of the double feature ideology here. And as for the Film Club, when we end things up, we like to do a little bit of trivia, fun facts, doodads about that. Boo, how many fun facts and doodads you got about this?
There are so many fun facts I got. I mean, I could go on for days, but I think maybe one of the fun facts that might get the two of you, if you haven't researched yet. So Mr. Parker in A Christmas Story, he's played by... Where's Mr. Parker on my list? By Darren McGavin. Mm-hmm. You can't think of A Christmas Story without thinking of the old man, yelling at the radiator and
the bumpuses.
The bumpuses and, time me while I'm changing the tire. But apparently during pre-production, Jack Nicholson almost got the part as Mr. Parker.
Oh my God.
Which is interesting because this movie, Christmas Story, came out in
83.
So he would have been older, Jack Nicholson, at this point. A little older. I mean, probably middle-aged.
I'll put it to you like this. He would have looked like Jack Torrance from The Shining.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I totally can see. Because that's the one thing that I also think about whenever I go back to this movie is... like the age gap between his parents is kind of noticeable. Yeah. His mom doesn't look... She looks about the age of what a parent should be. His dad looks...
like a
50 years old. So I'm like, interesting. Especially when the two kids are so young. Jack Nicholson, I feel like, would have been a little closer.
A little bit more believable.
A little bit more believable while maintaining that. But obviously then Darren McGavin, can't replace that. Because I also don't think... There are certain... I don't think you could see Jack Nicholson wanting to time himself while changing a tire. He would just be cursing the whole time.
I feel this story would be about, like, Ralphie getting his ass kicked by his dad and being chased around with an axe in the house.
Well, not an axe, just a crowbar.
It would just turn into The Shining. I couldn't watch The Christmas Story if Jack Nicholson was in it without thinking, when is he going to flip? When is... one of the twins going to show up?
I mean, maybe I could see Jack Nicholson doing all that because there are movies later in his life, much later in his life, where he certainly has a more upbeat attitude to him. Yeah. Obviously, those are movies where he gets basically to play playboy old men. But
He just playing himself.
Yeah. But that is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently he really wanted this role, but the studio was like, you know what, we can't afford his fees. And I guess with his salary, since he was such a big star at the time, was going to double the price of the movie. And they're just like, we're not putting up the studio.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too, because this is a very low-budget movie. Yeah. I don't know what... normally we do some sort of, like, we go over budgets and box offices, but...
well, worldwide gross is $20 million.
Yeah.
So, for 83?
Yeah, 83.
That would have been pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's opening weekend. Do I have that in my notes?
Well, I mean...
Opening weekend, I think, was... Yeah, it made $2 million its opening weekend.
Well, I mean, all in all, these movies all were successful when they came out. They all had a lot of fun. And I think we had a lot of fun here. Yeah. Right?
No, I had zero fun. Oh, well, I actually don't like, I've met you, and I'm quitting the podcast. But that's
well, don't worry, I don't like Bull Durham either. Yeah, it's garbage.
Well, maybe next time you shouldn't show me a picture of yourself that isn't
Channing Tatum?
Yeah, exactly.
Life happens.
I mean, that's how he suckered me into this relationship.
Bunch of savages. But yeah, so I guess that wraps us up here. What should people expect from each of our respective podcasts coming into the new year?
Well, the thing that we got coming up soon is our awards season at the double feature. We're doing all of our best and worst of the year. That's kind of what we got to go along with all of the holiday programming coming out, along with a slew of new movies coming in the new year.
Yes. And Miss Wu, at the Film Club, what's coming out?
At the Film Club next week, we are uploading on New Year's Eve, and we're going to be talking about The Purge, because 2020 was such a shit show. Why not talk about a world where it's a shit show one day a year? So, yeah, we're going to do that. And coming January, do you want to spoil that, or should we leave that as a surprise for the next episode?
Well, it is a surprising season, because that's our Guilty Pleasure month, and we will be surprising each other at the end of every episode about what crazy, weird guilty pleasures we have come up with for the month of January. But that's about it here at the Film Club and the Double Feature Podcast. I'd like to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Just have a wonderful time with your family. And if you don't got family, then have something to drink and watch some of these movies. You'll have a great time either way.
Yeah, it's always nice to find surrogates on television. That's always a healthy way to deal with the holidays.
Hey, quiet, yeah. Don't judge my family. All right, well, guys, say something nice before I sign off, so I'm not the crazy one.
If you get your hands on a PS5, you're the most blessed. So good for you.
Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad. Have a very happy holiday season, and eat. You know, this year's been so bad, just eat whatever you want. Don't worry about it. Treat yourself.
I can agree with treat yourself.
Treat yourself indeed. All right? Peace.
See you guys.
We'll see you next week at the Film Club.